What's up, everyone, and welcome to Virtual Café, the LinkedIn series where we spill the tea with folks who took the scenic route to success. No corporate fluff, no resume flexing, just real stories, bold pivots, and messy, magical moments that actually shaped the journey. Our very first guest is a straight-up force, Paige Walker. She's not just leading insights at the Hershey Company, she's flipping the script on how brands listen. Before that, she was chasing headlines in the newsroom at WGAL, Fox News, and UTAJ. Now she's using those same storytelling skills to turn social noise into strategic gold. We get into career curveballs, what journalism taught her about consumers, and why empathy and data is the cheat code for modern brands. So grab your coffee and get comfy because trust me, you're not going to want to miss this one. So, Paige, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you feeling?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm feeling great. I am happy to be here today and excited to chat with you.
I'm definitely excited to speak with you as well. First, I got to ask, you made a huge pivot from journalism to consumer insights. What was the moment of realization that made you commit to that shift?
Yeah, so essentially it was my mental health and my quality of life that I did just decide that, even though I love journalism, I value journalism, I had fun during the good parts of it, it was not a life that I could continue living and, keep up with my mental and physical health. So ultimately that kind of led me to change careers. And I didn't start going straight from journalism to consumer insights. I actually had a stop in what's known as consumer relations here at Hershey. They are the team that is in direct contact with our consumers on a daily basis. So I was a social media engagement specialist. That means I was responding back and forth with consumers who contacted like the Reese's brand page, the Kit Kat brand page, Jolly Rancher, you name it. So I used the social media skills I had gotten in journalism to then get me this job with Hershey. So started out as a social media engagement specialist, kind of shifted that role into social listening, and then fast forward about 4 years and I moved over to the consumer insights team.
Awesome. Now you said storytelling is still central to what you do. How do you approach storytelling with data now compared to the time in the newsroom?
Yeah, so in the newsroom, it was all about what has the most impact to the community, in a good or a bad way, definitely in a bad way most times. But with consumers and with data, it's what's going to have the most impact on your brand, on your consumer, in consumer insights, and just social listening in general. You might be dealing with very large data sets. So it's all about being able to know what matters and why it matters, and having that curiosity and honestly investigation skills to be able to dig through that data and really find what is going to matter to your stakeholders.
My grandparents watch the news and there's always negative things being promoted. So I guess that would probably tie into like the mental health quality part, right, as well. So if we looked at your job title today, what part of your journey would people completely miss?
Yeah, if you looked at the title today compared to about 5 years ago, honestly, you would just kind of miss the struggle. Like I said, did really struggle with my mental health. I struggled with finding my purpose and my place after leaving journalism. It was very hard for me to leave because it was a career that I like to say I've done it since high school. I was writing for the high school newspaper. I was an editor and, journalist in college and everything. And it was something I felt like I loved for most of my life. So to let it go was very hard. And I felt like I lost a part of my identity. So I spent a couple years, really trying to find that identity again and dealing with a lot of burnout that came from the journalism industry. So yeah, kind of just simply put, the struggle and then learning new skills after leaving journalism. Like, thankfully, I found that a lot of my skills were transferable to this new field, but it did take a long time. And, I'm still learning today on the job. I learn every single day. So it's definitely not just a quick, easy path to success. It definitely takes years of mentally healing and then learning new skills so you can grow in other areas.
People love to show the highlights, but they don't show where that struggle might have actually impacted their decisions. And so I'm happy that you definitely touched upon that. What's something unexpected you bought from the newsroom that gives you the edge that you have in the insights world?
Yeah, just my I mean, honestly, my breaking news skills and my sense of urgency and my ability to stay organized and get things done and tackle a lot of projects at once. Because in a newsroom, especially a broadcast newsroom, if your show isn't done at your deadline, you're going to have a blank screen going on the air. So you need to have your project, a show is a project. You need to have that done every day by a certain time, no matter what happens. If there's breaking news, if there's changes, you have to be there. You have to be ready. I was a producer, so I was the one building the show, the way that the viewers would see it on TV. I was the one who decided the order that the stories went in. I was writing the stories. I was making the graphics. Working with the anchors and the meteorologists and the photographers and everything. So it's honestly a big project management role, and a lot of responsibility falls on you. Just dealing with that very fast-paced environment that's, go, 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 go. Moving to the corporate world was kind of like, I have multiple days to do a project. Wow, that's amazing. I'm not doing it in a couple hours. So, and not to say I don't have stressful or hard days now in this job, but it's just a completely different shift from having a new project to do every single day, a show to do every single day, to now actually getting a lot of time to work on things. And just if something happens, a crisis, I'm like, well, it's not a breaking news,
Exactly.
horrible event that's going on. It's something with candy, so we're going to be okay.
I can imagine that would be incredibly stressful every single day to show up, regardless of what's happening in your personal life. So I definitely can appreciate the fact that, you've gone from this place where it was all this pressure on you to now transitioning into this place where there's still pressure on you, but it's not nearly as bad.
Not dealing with, unfortunately, like shootings and, robberies and car crashes and things that are horrible and that are impacting our communities every day. Journalism is really, it's a community service kind of job. You are serving your community, keeping them informed, and it's a big job because, journalism is so important to our society. And it's a lot of pressure, like you said, and consumer insights is very different. Social listening is very different, but I'm using those same skills from that role to help me in this role today.
What advice would you give someone who's working in media or comms but wants to move into possibly a different industry?
Yeah, if you're looking to move to a different industry from journalism, comms, newspaper, broadcast, anywhere like that, you are not stuck. That is what kind of kept me in it a little longer than I probably should have been, as I was like, I can't do something else. I can't work in the corporate world. I don't know how to do this. But I got to a place where unfortunately I just had to get out, and I was looking for social media jobs. I was like, I know how to do social media. I can look for, anything that has social media in the title, and I could figure it out. So that's what led me here today. So just remember that your skills that you are learning, while they may not seem like corporate skills, they are extremely transferable to the corporate world, and you will actually probably be more organized, more efficient, and, just faster in general than your typical corporate colleagues. Nothing against them, but you are used to dealing with a much more fast-paced environment. So just trying to kind of look at your skills through a different lens. And one thing I did was really take all of the broadcast lineage off of my resume when I was applying, because nobody in the corporate world knows what those very specific journalism terms are. So try to shift your resume to make it more general.
Okay. You weren't necessarily looking to be specifically into consumer insights. You were looking to just get any type of social listening role.
I'll be honest with you, just looking for any job other than that one. And that is not like the pretty, cool answer, but that is unfortunately where I was at the time. My mental health was so low, and I knew that I liked social media. Part of my job at the station was posting the stories from the broadcast onto social media. So I did always enjoy that. I knew how the platforms worked. I just liked social media in my personal life as well. So I always thought, I can do social, and social's growing. So when I was looking for jobs, I was kind of looking with anything with social media in the title. And then that's what led me to Hershey, to then kind of discover my love for social listening when I was here. So that's another tip, that if you just don't even know what you want to do, that's okay. You might, land a job and say, I can do this for now, and it may lead you to something that you are much more passionate about, which was the case for me.
Love it. It's just real, keeping it real. I love that. So you're one of the top 50 most influential in social intelligence. How do you stay ahead of what's trending and avoid burnout?
Yeah, so to avoid burnout, I do really value work-life balance and like separating my work life from my personal life. I do work from home a lot of the time, and thankfully I do live in a space where I can have a separate office. So I try to, keep my work in the office and I try to not work outside of the office. I try my hardest to log off, around 5 or 6 at the end of the day. I try not to bring work with me into the evening if I can, because that's what I did before in journalism. I was always on, I was always checking emails, I was always answering messages, always looking for breaking news. And just in this world, I do not need to be doing that. So I do try to keep my work and personal life as separate as possible and keep those boundaries in place. And then as for what's trending, I really love LinkedIn. I know that LinkedIn has a really bad rep for like being cringe and weird, but I would not be in the position that I am in today without LinkedIn, because I connected with so many different people in the social listening space on LinkedIn. And then I had one-on-one conversations with them about their role and how they got to where they were today, so then I could help build my path for where I am now. So people hate on LinkedIn, but I love it so much. I love, just following newsletters and different creators. And if you're in the social intelligence, social listening space, follow the Social Intelligence Lab. They are a great resource for what's trending in the social listening and intelligence space. They host a bunch of amazing free webinars.
I agree with you 100%. I think that LinkedIn is honestly in its infancy, as crazy as it would sound. But the reason why is because I speak to people all day who are consumer insights leaders, who are VPs of marketing or brand, and you'll be surprised. A lot of the time, these people don't even have like profile photos. It's almost like we're entering this new era where the Gen Zers and the millennials are really adapting to LinkedIn and treating it as if it's Instagram or Facebook or any other platform. And I think that that's great for everyone.
More people should use it. And I think you're right. In the future, I think it's going to be even bigger than it is now.
For sure. What's one brand you think absolutely kills it with consumer storytelling, and why?
So since I'm in the social listening and intelligence space, I'm going to kind of speak to this from a social media angle. I really love Dunkin' and their social media. I think they do a fantastic job. They have a really strong organic social presence, and they have a really strong brand voice. And honestly, the content is just hilarious. I mean, sure, it might be, geared toward Gen Z and millennial, kind of like which I am, so I think it's funny, but their stuff does great. It has a lot of engagements, a lot of likes, a lot of comments. That's how you know that when the engagements are good, the content is good. And I feel like they do a good mix of, humor and memes, but also like telling the brand story, keeping the brand messaging front and center. So I do think just in 2025, brands that do not have a strong organic and paid social presence are missing out.
I completely agree. And I love like the fast food social media presence in general. They're always taking shots at each other.
Yes, those are hilarious.
It's all this drama. But yes, Duncan does have great storytelling. If you could go back to your college newsroom and drop one gem of advice, what would you tell younger Paige?
I would tell younger Paige to not be afraid to try new things. And I want to say don't major in journalism, but I don't want to tell her that, because I would not be who I am today without doing everything that I did before. So, as much of, there was hardship, there was struggle, I would not be, probably in this position now if I wouldn't have gone through all of that. So I'm going to let her continue on the path that she was on and get those jobs that she really didn't like that much and, go through everything she went through. But I think back then I was just a little afraid to kind of branch out, and I thought, I can only do this thing. I can only do journalism. I can't do anything related, to business or the corporate world. So maybe just have her be a little more adventurous.
Almost reminds me of the movie The Butterfly Effect, right? Because you don't want to like take anything out of order that might shift everything. What do you hope listeners walk away with after hearing your story?
That if you are, in your career, if you are facing a hardship or just struggling right now, it does not last forever. You might not know what your purpose is. You might not know what you even like to do with work at this point, but just in my experience, and hopefully in yours too, you are going to find something that you are greatly passionate about, or if not even passionate about, just something that you like. You don't have to love work every single day. Sometimes it is just, a means to pay your bills and live your life, and that's totally fine. But, there are so many opportunities out there to explore, and even if you are feeling hopeless and lost and just kind of floating around currently, just try to explore new opportunities, connect with different people, follow different people on LinkedIn. You never know what's going to catch your eye and, what you might discover. I didn't know what social listening was 5 years ago. And now I lead social listening for the Hershey Company. So it just kind of goes to show you, like, the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, is kind of like not valid, because I could have never answered that question 5 years ago. If you would have told me 5 years ago that this was my job today, I would have laughed in your face. Like, I would have not believed you at all whatsoever. So just don't give up, and just remember, the hard times don't last forever.
That is it for episode 1 of Virtual Cafe. Big thanks to Paige for giving us a front row seat on how real storytellers move in this game. If you're into unpolished, unconventional, and undeniable career stories, this is just the beginning. Make sure to follow, comment, and repost. Until next time, keep brewing.